Hello and welcome, as today's date is Monday, the 27th day of July 2020. My name is Derek. This is the Money Charts channel, where, like always, all bets, trades, and of the like within each his own risk and their own reward. It is a very volatile day within the markets today, as we're seeing breakouts amongst the gold and silver charts. We'll get to that first and transition into that of cryptocurrencies. And as we can see on the quarterly term time frame, as it got away from this 18 average a little over a year ago, that it is now microscopically pierced above these highs of about 1923 I have in here, and it's 1937 right now. How high has it been up to for today's session? The intraday high right now, as at 11:25 a.m., 1942 almost is the intraday high. So we're pretty much there as I'm making this, and nice little break so far above this, and right now gold is having a nice little break against that of the dollar, against that of the silver. Gold's actually down 4% for the day, down to 80, or you need 80 ounces of silver right now to get an ounce of silver, just based on the ratio here at 80.046, and it's been going down since the July 20th breakdown, and even really started to break down at lower volatile terms and around the end of the first week of July, and even before then from the high occurring March the 18th, so post the event, and it's been nothing but lower highs and lower lows, and it's going to be very difficult for this ratio to even come back to where it came from at this 94 level, and who knows how much further this is going to go. If it does come back to where it came from, well, this is where it is now. So the area of like 82, 83 would be, and if this thing goes down to like 77, 75, 70, that's where I think the next resistance would be when it stops going down. And when we look at this from this entire run, as it broke out above this 93 level, it's showing the typical signs of the failed breakout, because it's not that large of a move overall. When you have a situation like this where you resist these levels for quite some time, and then you have this break above here, if you start to see the price, and I think we will, in this area here, then this is telling me failed breakout, and that you'd oftentimes have moves in the decent direction going lower, which to me would probably mean a retest of the 43 level. Now, you can say all you want, well, it's not a normal market against the dollar or whatever. Well, what you have, how am I trying to say this? As it be, we'll just see how this does end up playing out, because the gold-silver ratio, if anything, has been the constant one that we've had for years and years and years, going back generations or even pre-biblical times. And when I say pre-biblical times, I mean over 2,000 years ago. I do realize there's a much larger gap, but early biblical times, all that stuff, 5,000 years, 3,000, well, not really 5, but 3,000 years, Roman Empire, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, silver in at 24 and a third. It's been as high as 24 and a half. I remember seeing earlier today. What was the high do we have? 24.82 even. And this has got a little ways to go, I think, to its intended target, which is around 26, and that's immediate target at that. As we look at this, as far as this breakout in here, getting out nicely above the 18 average of highs, noticeably. But this little area here, we haven't yet came to it. We're close. I guess you can call it a pierce below, but more times than not, it's going to pierce higher than such. So I would expect that the wheels on this at least has a plus greater than 10%, or a move in the 27 to 28 area. We'll call it maybe 27, based on this little key level in here. And on the daily chart, this has, again, been just having a beautiful run, 18 and change in here, and then down this 1173. But for as it goes, all of these years in here of being able to buy silver at, basically, we'll say around $20 an ounce to buy the physical silver commodity, and now, of course, trading at $24.39. For myself, I'm used to trading it or buying it around the 25 and under. Even 23 was beautiful to buy at times, and even I don't know if I got cheaper than that in the Canadian dollar sense. Well, it's 32.39 Canadian. Has managed to obviously break above this level of resistance. You call this a double bottom, if you will, which is basically two U's or type of a formation, which is 1 here and 2 there, then a clear break. So if there's going to be any key support, I'd be looking at the 26. But as this goes, previous high seems to be the next target to me, and that's around $47 on the Canadian dollar front. Let's now transition this into cryptocurrencies. And as it goes, this is one of those days where Bitcoin is up and practically everything is down, at least from what I'm trading. So we can see all of these against Bitcoins down 10%, 8%. It was better, but Bitcoin Cash down 1%. It was actually up about 1% earlier in the day. LITECOIN down 4%. It was only down 1% earlier. Although I did just recently manage to sell it twice, so I guess that works out fine. In that of the trading against GRS was 1, and then against T-Fuel. Theta down to 22.54. And I'm mentioning Theta going to 1,800, and thus it has not been able to break 3,000. We'll get to that in a second. But as far as Bitcoin quickly, here we have on the quarterly term how it's been holding very well within the 18. And if it gets a little bit more for forward momentum, another 15, 20+% gain, then this will be looking as an attempt to break this on the very long-term time frame. Even the monthly is long-term as well. But it's really just holding in there. We do have a rising 18 average, but I mean, barely. It's sideways range. We've got big support twice hit in the area around 38. And we've had multiple resistance here at 11, 12. And we've had a lot of 10,000 flirtation, if you will, before. So within this, just hanging in with the 18, it's got a long ways to go before we can give this any type of bullish momentum. But same sort of story here, that you see this thing get up to like 15+% gain. Well, this is an attempt to regain the bull market within the status. On the weekly term time frame, this is pretty interesting as we look at this. As we had the run from the March lows, we established this level of resistance starting in May, and it's just now attempting to break by it. The high on June's handle here was 10,429. In today's session, or this week's session, 10,455. So a microscopic pierce above, pretty much the exact same thing. It also coincides with the highs from in February. And in such a quick break above this, as I've mentioned before, I would expect a fast, concise move to the high 12,000, and who knows how much above that as well. But a conservative target for about 12,700. If this continues to go higher, and it sure as heck looks as if that's going to continue to do so. Daily term time frame is starting to get a little overextended, and it's already now reached this level of resistance that I'm looking for. Okay, I see it. Now how are we going to react towards it? Decent chance of weak resistance here. And I'm going to always say this when you have an uptrend and a very good correctionary move. Of course, counter any news I might be aware of then. But weak resistance meaning maybe there's resistance, maybe there's not. I would expect this to hold and stay above 9,600 moving forward, thus not getting the greatest of deals of a buyback, selling now, buying back here. Although if you do, you get gains, I just feel the potential for this thing to have a significant move is pretty good. Now, granted, of course, a significant move might only be 20-25%. And of course, that could be, as of now, I mentioned, of course, on like these longer term charts, that when these things go, just like we're seeing in the silver and gold markets, these things can fly pretty darn near good when they're in breakout stages within the trend. And 3-hour chart, 1-hour chart within Bitcoin, of course, just fantastic as well. And Theta against Bitcoin, I mentioned how we've been resisting the 3,000 level. There's the breakdown of it on May the 30th. It resisted on the June the 1st. Again, for 2 more days on the 4th and 5th of June. Not quite, but trying to get up to it here. But it did manage to make this 3,000 level. And an immediate rejection into the 18 average, and never ever was it able to leave it until, of course, today. Today, clear break of this little bit of support range between the 2440 and 2375, and is now at this area we'd be looking for. Now we'll see how this works. Low area here is 22. This is on the way support, I feel, to its target, which is a pierce below 1919. In fact, this was just thrown in there quickly, the actual numbers when I did it. I remember any was like high 1800 change, so be it. Usually these things pierce extra anyway. So I'm going to be expecting that as we move into time that we're going to be headed towards there. Now, this is well overextended with several lower lows and lower highs in here. So at some point, we could very easily trace from this low or wherever the low is to the high in here. Unlikely, though, it's going to get anything much more than a 65, 70, 75% retracement. And thus I'd be looking at resistance, well, 65, that percentage level, as well as key levels where we came from, which should coincide with the same area around 25 and a quarter. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.